It is now August 3rd, 2019. I wanted to revisit the tomato growth habit. So I was wrong about a lot of things, and I want to make some corrections here. So this guy here, I erroneously stated that this was a silvery fir tree. That is wrong. This turned out to be a red Oxheart tomato. See if I can find a couple in here. They don't all have the Oxheart shape. They're actually kind of irregular. This is a good Oxheart shaped one. And they're certainly not a determinate tomato. As you can see, they've gotten enormous. They're sprawling out everywhere, taking over everything. I had never grown any of the various Oxheart tomatoes, which probably seems incredible. I've been growing tomatoes in a hobby way since I was about 12 years old and just never did. The only tomato with leaves like this that I was aware of was silvery fir tree, and I had grown that, so I assume that's what it is, but based on a process of elimination, it is red Oxheart, and it seems to match the characteristics of that really well. So that's the first correction. Let's talk a little bit about this monstrosity. This is a combination of Matt's Wild Cherry and Helsing Junction Blue. It's mostly Matt's Wild Cherry. There's a few of the Helsing Junction Blue fruit. See the high anthocyanin ones here. And there's the typical Matt's Wild Cherry. Now let's walk back here and see how large this plant has gotten. So, 5, 10, we're at this vine here is 15 feet from the original plant, August 3rd. These were planted out late April or early May, I think very early May. So we've had May, June, July, 3 months, 90 days. Matt's Wild Cherry, 15 feet long. It is at least 8 feet wide. 9 feet tall and 15 feet long from one plant. That's enough said about that. Regarding my attempts at tomato hybridization, as far as I can tell, no attempts worked. And it's been a complete failure. 22 attempts, and as far as I can tell, 0 successes. I could be wrong. I could end up finding some later that did succeed. As far as I can figure, every single one failed. And this has been many years of attempts at trying tomato hybridization, and I don't know. I've watched so many videos, read so many books, talked to people in person, talked to more people in person, watched more videos, read more books, tried at different times of the year, different techniques. It just doesn't seem to work for me. I think either I'm just not meant to do this, or my giant fat hands are just too clunky to manage this sort of thing. Maybe I need to stick to corn and squash, things that I can manage. I wanted to also update the progress of these Longkeeping tomatoes. This is yellow out, red in, and I believe I had said earlier that this was a determinate or semi-determinate variety, which is what I've always seen it listed as. But as you can see from this plant, this is not a determinate variety. I've got ripe fruits, I've got new flowers, I've got huge vines. This is an indeterminate plant, absolutely indeterminate. I've got ripe fruit. Okay, it's August 3rd. So I'm gonna taste this right now, and I'll tell you if it tastes like a Longkeeping tomato. Just tastes like a standard, not exceptionally unusual tomato, just a regular tomato. And it's not yellow out and red in. So I don't know what tomato this is, but that's what I got it as. And at least this plant here, it's most definitely not that. The other one here, this one has not ripened any fruit yet, but it's still an enormous plant and it seems identical in all other ways. I do have 2 other plants planted out, so we'll see, but I don't think this is what it was supposed to be. This very pathetic looking tomato here is Iron Lady, and that is a determinate tomato, and I believe that one is completely true to type. Iron Lady has been bitten off by deer more than once. Before this year, deer never bothered tomatoes, but this year the deer have gone crazy and they are eating basically everything. So this is black Centiflor, and I wanted to show what it looks like on these Centiflor type cluster tomatoes. There's an unripe cluster, and here's a ripening cluster. This has sort of the classic shape. I mean, I don't know if anyone here has ever grown Reisentraube, which is one I've grown years back for a while. It stopped growing, but it's certainly the same sort of tomato. This is black Centiflor. This is Sweet Sue, one of the best of the dwarf tomato projects. I should have picked some earlier. They're starting to go bad, but it's very early, really productive, and these are very respectable sized tomatoes, probably in the 8-ounce range, 6 to 8 ounce range. Very nice. The other dwarf tomato project one I really like is this one, Tasmanian Chocolate. It's really productive. Maybe it's a little smaller on average than the Sweet Sue. These are probably more like 4 to 6 ounce tomatoes, but I've had some that are probably in the 8, 10 ounce range. It's really early. It's the earliest tomato I've grown the last few years, so it's a nice one. This is an Indeterminate variety, Mountaineer Delight, one of the extremely disease tolerant varieties out of West Virginia. And I just wanted to show all the deer eating damage that's happened here. It's really unfortunate, although I like this variety so far. It hasn't made any ripe fruits. It was planted late, but the foliage is really clean and it's a really strong, vigorous variety. I wanted to close out with a view of the tomato jungle and some idea of the scale we're talking about. So these are some of the dwarf tomato project varieties, and I've got them coming up out of the top of the cages, so they're over 5 feet now. But if you look at some of these other monstrosities, this is mostly Matt's Wild Cherry, but there's some pink Ruffled, there's some Skykomish, there's some Helsing Junction Blues, there's some black Centiflor, and some of these things are in the 9 to 10 feet tall range. These red Oxhearts are in the 6 feet tall range, and I have trimmed the walkway here a few times so that you can walk, and it just keeps growing back. We have a good climate and soil, it seems like, for tomatoes. So this hasn't been excessively fertilized or really fertilized at all, and I've never watered out here, and this is just the kind of growth that I get here. So this is an addendum and a correction to the tomato growth habit. Thanks for watching.